Tonight, we're talking about a political earthquake. I mean, the entire board is being reset. Incumbents are falling left and right, and a crisis that's happening halfway around the world, yeah, it's about to hit you right in the wallet. This is what happens when the pressure cooker finally explodes.
So let's just get right to it. The biggest shock of the night. You've got a decorated war hero, a conservative media superstar, a guy many people saw as a future leader of the Republican Party, and tonight, he was just defeated.
That's right. We're talking about Congressman and former Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw. Down in Texas, he has lost his primary. And look, this is not just another election night number. No, this is a signal flare. It's a huge warning shot that the very ground beneath the political establishment is crumbling.
Okay, so let's really dive into this, because the implications here, they're massive. Crenshaw losing sends a literal shockwave through the entire GOP. This was absolutely not supposed to happen. So you gotta be asking, who did it? And what does this tell us about where the party is headed?
Well, the power dynamics are pretty fascinating, actually. Crenshaw was taken out by a state lawmaker named Steve Toth. But here's the kicker. Toth had the full-throated backing of Senator Ted Cruz. This is a huge, undeniable victory for the MAGA wing of the party. And it's a direct shot across the bow of the more established figures. It proves that in today's Republican Party, nobody, and I mean nobody, is safe from a challenge from their right.
But listen, this is so much bigger than just Dan Crenshaw or one race in Texas. What we are seeing play out is a nationwide wave of discontent. Voters are clearly fed up. They are demanding change, and they are using these primary elections to make sure their voices are heard loud and clear.
And don't for a second think this is just a Republican story. Not at all. Over on the Democratic side in Texas, you're seeing the exact same anti-incumbent mood. A rising star named James Tallarico just defeated the very well-known progressive firebrand Jasmine Crockett for the Democratic Senate nomination. It's another huge upset, and it just goes to show you that this hunger for new blood, it crosses party lines.
And the hits just keep on coming for the old guard. Long-serving Republican Senator John Cornyn, a major power player, he failed to win his primary outright, so now he's being forced into what's going to be a really brutal and expensive runoff against the state's controversial Attorney General Ken Paxton. The main takeaway here? Even a super powerful incumbent couldn't close the deal on election night. The voters weren't having it.
But, we have to add some critical context here, because this wave, it isn't hitting every single shore. If you look over in Arkansas, it's a totally different story. Incumbents like Senator Tom Cotton and Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, they basically just cruised to victory. So what this shows you is a really interesting patchwork across the country. A little bit of rebellion here, a little bit of stability there. Now, let's turn to a race that the entire country is going to be watching. I mean, all eyes are on North Carolina, where the primary has set the stage for an absolute brawl. You've got the Trump-backed Michael Whatley going head-to-head with the popular former Democratic governor Roy Cooper. This one race, this single race, could very well decide which party controls the U.S. Senate. The stakes just don't get any higher than that.
Now I want you to just look at this number for a second. $10 million. Just let that sink in. $10 million. What on earth could possibly justify that kind of money?
Well, that is the war chest that's being built for a single state legislative primary in North Carolina, a local race for about 20,000 voters. This isn't just spending anymore. This is a full-blown financial arms race, and it just reveals the white-hot intensity of the political battles that are now being fought on every single level, from the White House all the way down to the State House.
So from the states, let's shift gears and head to Washington, D.C., because all of this anger from voters, it's radiating straight to Capitol Hill, where top officials are now facing a pretty brutal public reckoning for their performance. And the official in the hot seat this week is Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. I mean, as the head of DHS, she's right at the center of the storm on huge issues like immigration and border security. And this week, Congress had some, let's just say, pointed questions for her. And get this, the heat was coming from her own party. You had Republican Senator John Kennedy just grilling her on what he called wasteful spending. He pointed to $220 million spent on TV ads that just so happened to feature Secretary Noem herself prominently. This shows you just how deep the frustration runs when even your political allies are calling you out this publicly.
So what was Noem's defense? Well, she put it right on the president's desk. She claimed the huge ad campaign wasn't even her idea, that it was personally approved by Donald Trump before she even got the job. It's a pretty high-stakes move, basically saying, hey, don't blame me, blame the guy at the top.
But the criticism from Democrats, it was even more searing. Senator Adam Schiff accused Noem of making spurious claims, that's his words, about 2 people who were killed by federal agents, causing, as he put it, endless injury to their families. So this wasn't just about money anymore. This was about truth, it was about competence, and it was about the human cost of her department's actions.
And you know, the pressure wasn't just coming from the senators. The hearing itself completely devolved into chaos. You had protesters repeatedly disrupting the whole thing, shouting about Americans killed by immigration agents. Their shouts just echoed the anger being felt all across the country. It really wasn't just a hearing, it was a snapshot of a government under siege.
Now, while America is completely wrapped up in this political firestorm, you have to remember, the rest of the world isn't just waiting around. A crisis is exploding right now that is going to directly impact the global economy. And that, by extension, means your bottom line.
Take a look at this map. This little waterway right here is the Strait of Hormuz. It is one of the most critical arteries for global trade and oil on the entire planet. Think of it as a global economic highway. And right now, that highway is grinding to a halt.
And I mean, we are talking about the biggest names in the game. Maersk, MSC, Hapag-Lloyd, CMA, CGM. These are the giants of global shipping, and they are all pulling their massive container ships out of the region, saying it is simply too dangerous to operate there. That, my friends, is a massive flashing red light for the world economy.
And the cause for all this? Well, it's a direct response to U.S. and Israeli military strikes on Iran. That single action has poured gasoline on an already raging fire in the Middle East, and now the economic consequences are starting to look terrifyingly real.
So, okay, we've seen political giants get toppled, we've seen Washington in turmoil, and we've seen a global crisis brewing. But what does any of this actually mean for you in your day-to-day life? All right, let's connect the dots.
Here's the chain reaction, okay? It all starts with voter anger. That anger shakes up the primaries, it topples established leaders, and it creates political instability. That instability in Washington then makes it way harder for the government to respond effectively to global crises, like, say, a shutdown in the Strait of Hormuz. And when a vital shipping lane like that closes up, well, the global supply chain breaks. Prices for literally everything from gas to groceries go up, and your wallet feels the pain. See? It's all connected.
Which leaves us with one last, pretty sobering question. We are watching a moment of profound instability, from our own backyards all the way to the world stage. So is this just some chaotic phase that we're passing through? Or is this volatile, unpredictable world the new reality we all have to learn to navigate? I want to know what you think.